It was supposed to be a night of celebration. High school graduation, the beginning of summer, the promise of new beginnings. But by sunrise, 3 women had vanished into thin air. Their cars sat in the driveway. Their purses were still inside the house. Even the family dog was left behind, pacing nervously as if it had witnessed something unspeakable. 30 years later, no one has seen them again. This is the haunting mystery of the Springfield Three. Sherrill Levitt was 47 years old, a hardworking single mother who had finally bought a home of her own in a quiet neighborhood of Springfield, Missouri. She was respected, dependable, and dedicated to her job as a cosmetologist. That home was supposed to be her safe place. Living with her was her daughter, Suzanne, known to everyone as Suzie. She was 19, outspoken, bold, sometimes rebellious, but full of life and with big plans for her future. At her side was her best friend, Stacy McCall, just 18 years old. Stacy was bubbly, sweet, the kind of friend who brought laughter wherever she went. 3 women, 3 lives closely bound together, and in one night, all 3 disappeared. June 6, 1992, graduation night. Suzie and Stacy spent the evening drifting from one party to another, laughing and celebrating their new freedom. Around 2 in the morning, the 2 girls decided not to stay at a crowded friend's house. Instead, they headed back to Suzie's home, where Sherrill had already gone to bed. By all accounts, the house should have been a sanctuary, the safest place in the world for them. But whatever happened after the girls arrived is a blank that has haunted Springfield for decades. The following morning, friends came to pick up Suzie and Stacy for a trip to a water park. What they found instead was a scene frozen in time. All 3 cars sat neatly in the driveway. Inside the house, purses, keys, cigarettes, and money were untouched. Sherrill's glasses were still on the nightstand. The porch light outside was shattered, broken glass scattered across the steps. And inside, the family dog, Cinnamon, was restless and frightened. The house was eerily silent, but everything suggested the women had been interrupted suddenly, with no chance to prepare, no time to run. Then the phone rang. One of the friends answered. On the other end was a man's voice, making obscene and sexual remarks. At the time, it was dismissed as a cruel prank. But was it a clue? Did the caller know exactly what had happened in that house? When police were called, they quickly realized this wasn't a simple missing persons case. But the investigation faced problems from the start. Friends, family, even neighbors had already walked through the house, trying to make sense of what they found. They cleaned up the broken glass, they answered calls, they moved items. Without knowing it, they contaminated a crime scene that might have held the only clues. Hundreds of leads poured in. The FBI, state police, and local detectives all joined the search. Flyers were printed, vigils were held. The story spread across the nation. But there were no bodies, no ransom notes, and no trace of Sherrill, Suzie, or Stacy. How could 3 people vanish without a scream, without a struggle, without a single witness in a suburban neighborhood? Over the years, several theories emerged. Some believed it was a stranger abduction, possibly multiple attackers who forced the women from the home at gunpoint. Moving 3 people without leaving signs of a struggle would have been difficult otherwise. Others suspected the women knew their abductor. With no forced entry, could it be that someone they trusted knocked on the door that night, and they opened it without hesitation? One of the most chilling suspects was Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and suspected murderer. He lived in Springfield at the time of the disappearance. Years later, from prison, he hinted that he knew the women were dead and that their bodies would never be found. He refused to give details unless granted immunity. His cryptic statements shook the community, but he was never charged. Other suspects and tips came and went. Construction workers, acquaintances, possible random intruders. But none of these leads brought answers. Every trail grew cold. The case of the Springfield Three left a scar on the community that has never healed. The house where they vanished no longer stands, but their absence lingers like a shadow over the city. Families still search for answers. Detectives still call it one of the most frustrating mysteries of their careers. Over the years, New technology has been applied. Cadaver dogs searched fields, radar scanned suspected burial sites, DNA analysis was tested. Yet nothing conclusive has ever been found. 3 women, 1 home, 1 night, and then nothing. The Springfield Three are still missing. No bodies, no arrests, just silence and theories. So what happened that night? Were they taken by strangers in a coordinated abduction? Did someone close to them betray their trust? Or does someone in Springfield still hold the secret? 30 years later, the case remains one of America's most baffling unsolved mysteries. And perhaps one day the truth will surface because nothing stays buried forever.